Welcome to the show. I'm Coach Don, and we are in here for another season of 2 Cents. We have a lot to talk about, obviously, and this has been a very, great month of sports. And since we last left for break, and we're just going to talk about a recap of what actually happened this past week, and then I'm going to talk about some other things that I didn't get to do on the show, which will come later towards the end of the show. But as we know, yesterday was the NFC and AFC championship games, and the Packers and the Bears played, this is where the game really came down to the wire. In the end, a whole bunch of things happened, but first, a couple of key stats here. Aaron Rodgers threw for 244 yards, had two touchdown passes, and Greg Jennings had 8 catches for 130 yards and had no touchdowns. A key note to this game was that Jay Cutler left this game in the third quarter. Now, I want to talk about this because this is something that has had a lot of heat over the past 24 hours. A lot of people would question Jay Cutler. Was he hurt or wasn't he hurt? And today, they did a couple tests on Jay Cutler, and it came to find out that he did indeed have an MCL sprain. Now, whether or not, I don't know if you have had an ACL sprain, but I can tell you that it's not the best type of pain to play in. And this certainly shows that he was actually hurt, and if people can't actually get mad at Jay Cutler for not playing. But the end result is they eventually lost this game, and they actually went down the ladder quarterback-wise because they went to their second-string quarterback. He threw 3 incomplete passes, and they went to their third-string quarterback, who actually finished the game. He had a pretty good drive there in the fourth quarter to make the score 21-14, but could not pull it out in the end. So it was kind of sad to see the Bears fumble like this, but it happens in the world of sports. Moving on to the AFC now with the Jets and the Steelers. The Steelers won this game 24-19. This game wasn't not close at all at the end of the first half. The score was 24-3 at the end of the first half, and the Jets were really struggling, and they picked up the intensity in the second half, which I really thought was quite perfect for them. Ben Roethlisberger was okay. He didn't play his best game of football by far. He was 10 of 19 for 133 yards and had 2 interceptions. Like I said, he didn't play his best game, but he got the job done anyway. One good note for the Steelers in this game was Rashard Mendenhall had 27 carries for 120 yards and did score a touchdown. He was tremendous in this game, and I think had to be the MVP of this game, because if he did not break off a couple of runs that he did, the Steelers would not have won this game. Mark Sanchez for the Jets was 20 of 33 for 233 yards and had 2 touchdowns. Mark Sanchez, everybody criticizes him. I actually saw he actually threw a couple good balls in this game, and I really think it. Mark Sanchez is really underrated. Everybody talks about him, and it's kind of sad to see that. But I believe that Mark Sanchez will turn into a good quarterback. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but down in the future, he will be a good quarterback for the Jets. He just needs to learn this system for the Jets, and I really honestly see him turning into a good quarterback. Now, the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks, as we all know, and I'm going to hold off on my Super Bowl pick until next week. Next week, I will deem the Super Bowl edition of the show, but I will say this. The Pro Bowl is this weekend. It is moved back to Hawaii after a year of being in Florida. I think this is the best move the NFL has made by moving this Pro Bowl to Hawaii, because a lot of players complained about this. Why would they move a game that used to be in Hawaii? The weather's warm down there. They're used to going down there for a vacation. Why would they move it to Florida? Now, like I said before, a lot of players complained about this, and I actually didn't like the Pro Bowl being in Florida. I actually thought it was, better off in Hawaii, because Hawaii, as we all know, does not have an NFL football team. And for that city to have NFL players in their city once a year, I think is a great benefit for them. In other NFL news this past weekend, there was a report that Carson Palmer had asked the Bengals to be traded. Now, reports of this didn't come out later, but that was confirmed that he indeed was, asked him to be traded. And the owner, the Bengals owner Mike Brown, said he was not planning to trade Carson Palmer. Now, Carson Palmer did say in a statement, excuse me, that he was contemplating retirement if he was not traded. One side note to this, that Bengals wide receiver Chad Ochocinco tweeted that, as we all recall, a certain player, not to be named, had actually requested to be traded and was yelled at and crucified by the city, and eventually took back his little trade clause, I guess, wanted to be traded thing. So that was from Chad Ochocinco, and I don't know what's going to happen, but stick to this. This is a breaking development, as we know. Carson Palmer's wife is from Arizona. That might be a trade destination, or Seattle, as we all know. Pete Carroll is the coach of the Seahawks. Matt Hasselbeck, the quarterback, is leaving, or his contract is up, I should say. So there's a lot of situations that could happen there. Arizona needs a quarterback. Seattle may need a quarterback if Matt Hasselbeck does not come back. So there's a lot of different things that can happen. Now, as we switch over to Widener Sports, this was a jam-packed weekend of Widener Sports. Widener Swimming won, the women's basketball won, and the men's basketball lost. I'm going to talk about the men's basketball first. They lost in a heartbreaker to Elizabethtown, 76-75, excuse me. Center Jack Brenton led the Pride with 14 points. The men's basketball team is now 9-8 this season and 4-3 in conference play. This past game was a huge game for the Pride, because if they had won this game, they would have been in a tie for first place. And if you're talking about seedings and trying to get into the NCAA tournament, this was a huge game that they needed. Now, their next home game is this Wednesday, as they step out of league conference play to play DeSales. This is like I said, a good game for them to rebound. They really need to rebound in this game. I myself will be there. I will be DJing the game, so I will be there at the game. Also, as we move on to the women's side, their basketball team won in a 73 contest over E-Town. That was really closer than the score predicts. Sophomore Lil Carney and Kate Dillinger each closed with a double-double. Carney led the team with 18 points and 10 assists, and Kate Dillinger finished with 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. Now, this game was really close, like I said, than the score predicts. Widener broke away late in the closing minutes. I believe that the refs in this game really called the bad game. And, you're not going to hear me criticize the referees that much. But since I was there and saw this game, I had to say that they really much kind of didn't call the game in the right way. But nonetheless, the team won. They are in first place of their conference. They're now, I believe, 25-3, I believe, on the season so far. Also, they will play Messiah at 5 p.m. this Saturday. Yeah, they'll play Messiah this Saturday at 5 p.m. if I got that right. Also, Widener sophomore Kate Dillinger was picked the Commonwealth Conference Women's Basketball Athlete of the Week for her 30-game performance last week. And also, senior Jesse Bregman of the men's swimming team was named Mid-Atlantic Conference Men's Swimming Athlete of the Week for his performance last week. And I'd like to congratulate those two for being named Players of the Week. Also, Phillies, spring training is in 20 days. Pitchers and catchers report in 20 days. It's amazing to see the baseball season already coming back. And also, in other Phillies news, Phillies have avoided arbitration with Kyle Kendrick. They have agreed on a one-year, $2.4 million contract, and as we know, he will be competing for the 5th spot in the starting rotation, or he will be put, I should say, in the bullpen as a long relief pitcher. The Phillies have also agreed to arbitration a couple weeks ago with outfielder Ben Francisco on a one-year, $1.117 million contract. Now, with the Phillies, as we all know, they have a huge gap in right field, and Dominic Brown, the Phillies prospect, as we all know, is competing for this spot. Now, I believe he will win the spot, obviously, but you know, he will start. He may start the season in that starting rotation. I mean, not in the starting rotation, but in the starting lineup. And Ben Francisco may come in later in the season. I think he will, because, like I said, last year Dominic Brown played tremendous his first couple games in the major leagues and fell off in the end of the season and in the playoffs. Now, they sent Dom Brown to the Arizona Fall League, where he went, I believe it was 0 for 27. Now, that's not what you would like to see from a guy who's going to be the future of your team, but he was sick and had an illness, and the Phillies did send him home. So, you know, him being sick, I guess, had something to do with it, and you know, it's perfectly fine. But it's going to be a great thing to see. We have a fifth spot in the rotation with Joe Blanton and Kyle Kendrick, and also minor leaguer Vance Worley has snuck into the picture for the fifth spot. And this outfield battle is going to be heating up as we have Ben Francisco, Dom Brown, and Ross Gload all competing for this spot. So it's going to be a great spring training season. And one Eagles note that I have to say, that as we all know, the defensive coordinator Sean McDermott was released by the Eagles. They have been out there scouting and searching for a replacement for that defensive coordinator position. As we all know, the Eagles were the league's worst in red zone defense. So they obviously need to step that up as they look for a new defensive coordinator. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of 2 Cents. Stick around next week for a Super Bowl edition of 2 Cents, and we're going to have a good show for you there. And also, I like to point out, I lost my train of thought actually. But yeah, that's it for today's show.